Next thing we're going to talk about, the saying embrace the suck is thrown out quite frequently on the trail. There are days that they're not going to be fun. You've been out there for, however long, and it could be a beautiful day. It doesn't really matter. Something in you just mentally, you just aren't dealing with it good today. Some cases, it could be raining for 24 hours straight. Some cases, 72 hours straight. And it's just going to put a damper on your parade. And one thing to remember is that it's going to get better. At some point, sun's going to shine again. You're gonna see a nice view, brighten up your spirits. So just embrace the suck, as they say. It's all part of the journey, and it makes the journey what it is. If it was all sunshine and rainbows, everybody would be able to do it.
Yeah, and I just feel like, if you're out there for 5 to 7 months on average, you're not gonna wake up every single morning with a huge smile on your face, ready to go. There are gonna be days, everyone goes through ebbs and flows, in real life and on the trail. And I just feel like knowing that it's okay to have a day or two where you're just not really feeling it, but you keep pushing anyway, and then you're gonna have days where you feel invincible. Like there would be days that I would fall and then you'd laugh because it was funny, and then other days you would just trip and you're like kicking the ground because you're so mad. But so every day you're just gonna look at it a little bit differently.
Falling off bog bridges and
yeah. Yeah, like there was one day, I think we already talked about this in another video.
Did we?
But the day, it was in Maine, right?
The bog bridge
Yeah.
or the cliff? Oh, I was thinking coming down that.
I fall a lot. But no, in Maine, where that's my home state, so I'm a little prideful about it. But I fell, and I was frustrated. I slipped in the mud. There was so much mud everywhere. And it was one thing for me to do it, but then I heard another guy do it, and he kind of walked by, and he's like, oh, Maine sucks. It's all mud, and blah, blah. And, that kind of got me mad. I was kind of, upset about that. Maine itself didn't suck. It was just I was in a bad mood. And to hear someone else kind of rag on the state and everything for it, put it into perspective. Okay, he's just having a bad day.
Definitely check your attitude at the door.
So another way to stay positive on your thru hike is to remember why you're even out there in the first place. If it's with somebody in mind, if you're doing it to test yourself and to challenge yourself, whatever you're trying to achieve, just kind of keeping that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, definitely keep those goals in mind at all times, especially when the negativity kind of sets in. It'd be very easy to just kind of disappear off the trail, surprisingly easy. You could get in town, jump on a bus, and take a plane home, but I don't know, it's kind of the easy way out. Just think about how much you planned in doing this. Think of your reasoning for being out there, and everybody's is different, so I can't really say for each person specifically what to think of, but definitely think of your own specific reasoning for being out there. And for me, that was a huge, mental thing, just thinking about it and be like, oh yeah, life could suck much worse than it does out here. So
yeah, and just staying really loyal to that. And for people that don't finish, which is also fine, what did they want out of it? It's I hiked with a friend who really wanted to have the experience of backpacking, trying this out, and she still did a huge chunk of the trail, 600 miles, but she accomplished what she wanted to do and needed to do.
Yeah, and everybody's goals are different. So a lot of people write down too before the trail their main reasons for being out there. I did not particularly do that. I just kind of kept them up in the good old memory bank here, and that worked well for me. But you could write down your reasons, what you want out of the trail, what you want the trail to provide for you, I suppose.
Yeah, that was more for me was what I wanted to get out of it and kind of how I wanted to change as a person and grow, because I remember always feeling kind of awkward when that's kind of a really standard question is especially in the beginning, you're trying to bond with other hikers and they're like, so why are you hiking?
Why are you out here, man?
Yeah, and I because I wanted to. I didn't have this nice neat reason of why I had to do it or why I wanted to do it. And so there would be some days that I would be walking and be like, why am I out here? But it's because I wanted to do this thru hike. I wanted to challenge myself and to grow.
Yeah.
And so just know that you also don't need this really profound reason either. If that's not your case. I mean, it might be, but it's okay if not as well.
Yeah. You can be out there just for the challenge. It's not that big a deal. I was out there just because life's short and I want to do fun things.
Right on.
So, I mean, can't get more simple than that. Keep in mind your reason for being out there and you will find success.
So kind of the opposite of thinking of people that are really supporting you and kind of on your team, another great motivation, which helped me, is thinking about the people who weren't necessarily supportive. So, usually when you're doing something big like this and kind of unconventional, you're always going to have, whether it's your inner voice or other people just saying I don't think they're going to be able to do it for whatever reason. And I know that when I started bringing up doing the trail years ago, it was first of all, I don't think people thought I was serious. I think people were like, yeah, okay, like just a pipeline dream. And then once I started buying the equipment and taking the time off and taking those steps, it was more of like, well, why are you doing this? It's not safe. You have no experience. It kind of turned into people more looking out for my safety and well-being, but I also in the back of their mind thinking that maybe I wasn't going to be able to do it or wasn't capable. So yeah, I definitely had a lot of that. Yeah, you didn't really have that though.
Yeah, I didn't really have too much of that, and I don't know, it just seems weird to me that like it's just people in general secretly hope people will fail. Like it's just like a really weird thing. So I tried to be super supportive of everyone out there, and I talked to a few people on the trail who were like debating quitting, and there was one guy, I forget where it was, but he was sitting in a shelter. He told me he hadn't left in like 24 hours, and he was talking about quitting, and I like to think that I convinced him otherwise, but I don't. In all honesty, I don't know if I did, but don't let the haters kind of shut you down. Use that as fuel.
Yeah, as motivation.
Yeah, and just think about when you're done, when you finish the trail, you're standing up with that Katahdin sign, and you can just be like, ha!
I did it.
Yeah, I did it. Look at me now. So,
yeah.
Use it as fuel.
Yeah, that is a good feeling. And that being said, you know, you do have to make sure that you're not just doing it for other people, because that will never be enough. Like, you know,
don't do the trail out of spite.
Yeah, because you got to have something more internal. But yeah, I just remember people really close to me, like a couple of them would just say things like, you know, if you get out there and you don't want to do it anymore, like it's okay to come home, and which was really nice. But you know, just kind of making sure that like if you're ever uncomfortable or if things get bad, like it's okay to come home, and just saying things like, kind of reminding me too, I remember in the planning stages, I don't know, I didn't start it super early. I didn't really start it like years in advance like some people do. And I remember just having a lot of people who didn't really know anything about backpacking either, but just close to me saying things like, this is something huge that you need to be planning, like you're unprepared, you don't have whatever stuff. And then I remember like if I would even post pictures of gear stuff, people would also put their 2 cents in and say like, this is going to be too heavy, you need to, you know, people are always going to have kind of like that negative tone in your ear, and then you just have to consider like, where's their knowledge coming from first of all, like their experience, and you know, are they looking out for you, are they supporting you? So
take what people on the internet say, especially in stride. If you don't know someone's actual like credibility, don't worry about it. If you feel comfortable carrying what you're carrying, carry it. End of story. Ultralight, not ultralight, ultra heavy. Knock yourself out. If you want to carry 60 pounds up the trail, that's your own prerogative.
You do you.
Yeah, definitely do you. Let the haters fuel you, but don't let it be your only fuel. So when you're out on the trail, you're seeing tons of woods and rocks and sweet views and stuff. Believe it or not, it can get a little tiring. Some people start to lose focus, they start feeling a little down, and one of the best ways that I found to combat this is taking a 0 day in town. There is nothing better than having a little day to yourself off of the trail, kind of recuperate a little bit. Lets you do all sorts of fun things. You can enjoy the town that you're in. See the local eateries was my big favorite, I suppose.
I love 0 days.
Yeah, so take a 0 day. And a 0 day.
Two.
Yeah, or a couple, yeah. A 0 day, for those who don't know, it's just a day you stay in town and don't do any mileage on the actual trail. And you could do a Nero too, which is just do a couple miles into town, maybe stay that day, and then take a 0 the following day. But it gives you kind of time to reset a little bit, recuperate physically, eat all sorts of food, and that was hands down.
Just like veg out.
Yeah, my favorite part. But it's nice to kind of relax. I think a lot of people think that the trail is just some sort of like relaxing hike in the woods. And while it is to a certain extent, it's a lot of work. When you're putting in 15-mile days, say on average, it can get quite daunting, quite physically exhausting. So
and mentally.
Yeah, mentally exhausting too. It's nice to recharge your batteries in town. You can stay hostels. There's some places in certain towns that are free to stay if you're on a very, very tight budget, or you can, I don't know, live it up.
A couple people I talked to would take a little bit more than a couple days, like even spend a long weekend at home. Like for 4th of July, I know a lot of people were close to home, so they would go home for that. Yeah. Take like a week off. I don't know. Some people would disagree and say that that's not, if you take a couple weeks off, it's not really a through hike. But and then I've also heard people say that once, if you do take a week or two off, that it's impossible to come back. And I disagree. I actually ended up taking almost 3 weeks off when I hiked in July. I had to come home for a wedding and a few other things. And I was really eager to come back. And when I came back, I was really well rested. Like my body was rested. And I just, like I was really ready to be back. And so I personally disagree that if you do need to take a little bit of time off that, you know, you won't be able to come back, but other people might feel differently about that.
I technically took a week off at one point too, nursing myself back to health in Marion, Virginia. And also took a couple days, 4th of July that you mentioned, I actually spent in Pennsylvania at a friend's house. She hooked us up hardcore, drove us all around. She cooked us a big old steak. We hung out with her family and stuff. And then Anna came out a couple times too, my girlfriend, and we stayed in a couple places for 2.5 days. So definitely take time, recharge.
I think too, we haven't said this yet, but it kind of goes like with Anna coming out, is like if you can have a familiar face from the real world, from your life prior to hiking, have them come out and visit you. I mean, they don't, I met a lot of people that would have people come hike with them. I didn't really have anyone come and do that.
We did, but Anna and my buddy Pacho came out, but they were good hikers, strong hikers. So.
Yeah, but you know, even if you do just want to get a hotel or something like that, it's just really good to see a familiar face of someone that's supportive, and that it was always really recharging for me.
Yeah, Brady came out.
Yeah, he came out. My boyfriend came out and surprised me in trail days, so Damascus, and then also when we got to Maine, came out at one of the bed and breakfasts, and that was just like so nice to see a familiar face.
Yeah, it can help.
And my parents came out too.
Yeah.
In Monson, took us out to eat and everything.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Did I meet them before that?
I don't think so.
I feel like I did, but I don't know. Maybe it's just from all the like cookie mail drops. Yeah. By the way, Mrs. Big Mama, I'm waiting.
She would have sent you some. She would have sent you guys some for Christmas.
I should have gave you the address. But anyway, on to the next one. Did you?
My bagel.
That's going in the blooper reel.
My hands smell like onions from my bagel.